How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad.
That's good. So are you in Melbourne today?
Yeah,
You're from Melbourne, aren't you?
yep.
And the Demon Parade are just about to start a tour to launch your second EP.
Yeah, that's correct.
You did a show already on the 2nd of November at the Ding Dong Lounge, is that right?
Yep.
How did that go?
Not too bad. I don't know, I'm pretty critical. I think sometimes those launch shows are hard to do because there's so much organisation going into putting it on, and you forget about the playing part of it.
Well, I don't know if you want me to mention this or not, but your father was actually Colin Badger from Painters and Dockers and the Dilly All-Stars.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I'm playing bass in the Painters and Dockers now too. The occasional show, yeah.
All right, and he's got another band called Soul Nation, has he?
Yeah, Dilly All-Stars kind of transformed into Soul Nation, which I also played bass for a few months, just filling in. And I think they occasionally do the Dilly All-Stars thing when it comes up.
So you've got your band, The Demon Parade, and
Yep.
you're playing bass, you said, for Painters and Dockers.
Yeah, which is only very occasionally.
And what about The Crooked Saint?
Yeah, just do the occasional gig with Tim from Crooked Saint. I've been best friends with him since we're about 14, and I've produced a couple of his records too, so I already know the parts, and it's good fun hanging out with him.
Because you've got your own recording studio at home, haven't you?
Yep, that's where I'm sitting right now.
And you produced your own EP, recorded and produced it.
Yep.
How come you did actually record some of the drums down at the Hot House studio? Why did you choose to do that?
You've done your research, haven't you?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy to not have to worry about getting all those things together.
All right.
And letting someone else take control when the most important part of it's being laid down.
And there was never any choice of what you were going to do in life, was there?
Yeah, there was. There was another, the sporting side.
All right. What sport?
Tennis mainly. But football as well was another one. That's only come out in the last year or two that I was a gifted sports person.
And so either way, you're using a lot of energy, whether you're doing a live show or whether you're on the sports field, aren't you?
Yeah, it's tiring doing everything.
And due for a holiday almost.
Yeah, well, kind of being on tour and being on tour is kind of my holidays at the moment, I guess, but that's extremely tiring as well.
Because it's hard once you get the momentum going, it's hard to sort of stop then, isn't it? Because you're afraid you'll lose it all.
Yeah, I guess so. I did actually take a holiday over to Thailand a bit earlier in the year, which was good because I didn't take a guitar and I didn't listen to any music, and I just saw lots of sights and rode elephants and patted tigers and a baby leopard and stuff. So that was good to get away from the music.
What about overseas gigs? Have you done any of them?
Not with the Demon Parade. I have done some showcase gigs in past bands, but I've never actually toured overseas or anything, but I've done some in past bands I've recorded. But next year I'm kind of hoping to get over to New York and LA to play some shows with the Demon Parade, and I've got enough material that's recorded that's worth going over there for, because 2 EPs is the equivalent of an album. So I think going over there is with a full album or 10 or 12 or 15 songs behind you is a little bit more of a draw card, a bit more of something to talk about.
And this Thursday you're doing a gig in support of the Dandy Warhols DJ set.
Yeah, apparently so, yeah. I've still yet to get any details about that, but that's supposed to be happening. I think they're a little bit hard to the management's a little bit hard to get onto, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. On the 23rd of November, you're playing at the Esplanade Hotel. Do you know who's supporting you for that?
Well, there's a couple of bands that are launching their singles that night. We've got the Snowdroppers and the Lurch and Chief.
Oh, yeah.
That are both launching their singles. So there's a band on before us, and then we're on second, and then there's Lurch and Chief and the Snowdroppers.
All right. And on the 30th of November, you're at the Spotted Mallard in Coburg.
Yep.
Then you're off to Sydney for a couple of shows.
Yep.
And
the Spotted Mallard, I think, is a venue that has been redone, and they're trying to get that venue happening over the north side of town.
on the 21st, you're doing a show at Can't Say. What's that? I haven't heard of that one at all.
That one is I don't think that's the name of the venue, and I'm not sure what the name of the venue is, but that's Can't Say is a club night, which I think is run by the Purple Sneakers crew.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how to explain that one, but it's maybe bands and DJs and lots of people. I think it's a bit of a club/gig/party vibe.
Yeah. Your mother was a musician as well. Was she in any bands we might know?
Probably not. My mum and dad both played in a band in the late 80s and early 90s called The Playground. So Triple R listeners and probably some Triple J listeners from back in that era may remember them, and they used to play at the Tote and the Evelyn a lot and all the Melbourne traps around town. They had an album. I think if you Google their MySpace, The Playground Band Melbourne, you'll find a few songs there. And it's actually not too unsimilar from what we're doing these days.
I was been watching your videos on YouTube, and in the early days you had a bit of that Vines thing going on.
Okay. Yeah, well, I quite like a lot of that style of melodic music with good guitars and harmonies and just good sense of melody and big sounds, and definitely influenced by 60s music as well.
Yeah, well, you said that Keith and Ronnie from the Rolling Stones were a big influence in you learning to play guitar or changing to guitar, but what about in your songwriting and stuff like that? Who do you think your biggest influence is?
You know what? I couldn't actually tell you. I've never really thought about it like that. I think songwriting's like probably something that for me comes together by putting kind of all my knowledge and talents together. You know, I play the drums and bass guitar as well, and quite often I'll start a song with a bass line and find an appropriate sort of drum rhythm to go with it. You know, I might just put a quick loop together or just something interesting that gives you some rhythm. Might come up with like a texture on the keyboard, you know, some sort of drone or just something that kind of takes you to like a headspace or just captures a vibe. And then I think all the hooks and melody and lyrics kind of get inspired by that bass. And it's probably just, you know, like a combination of all those things and different influences coming together, which then create the song. So in answer to your question, I don't think I've actually got one songwriter in particular that I would say that's my favourite songwriter. I think it's just kind of taking a little bit in from everyone that I like that makes good sounds.
And you've supported people like the Brian Jonestown Massacre and Swerve Driver and British India and Stonefield and the Cruel Sea and many others. Is there anyone that you haven't supported that you'd really like to? Yeah,
I got asked this the other day and did the Rolling Stones. And, you know, they're coming out next year. So I'm just putting it out there.
Working on it.
Yeah.
And you engineered a song by the Fearless Vampire Killers as well. Do you do a lot of that for other bands?
Yeah, I actually did their whole debut album. And that was kind of early on. I'd only been doing it for about 12 months when I worked on that. And we just all got into a big room and we thought we were doing demos, and they played live. I think all their 10 tracks were recorded in about 2 days or less, apart from the vocals. And that ended up being their first album. And that was probably only the second recording I made that got released. And then after that, I think word of mouth just got out and people knew that I did it. And so ever since, I've just been doing more and more. And recently I've started to do some quite different sort of stuff, you know, getting together with bands to produce songs that are heading a lot more down the electronic path. And it's not because I'm an expert at electronic music whatsoever. It's all very new to me and I'm improvising as we go, but I like the fact that people are coming to me because they know I've got a good sense for production with pop melody and getting the hooks in the right place and harmonies and just structuring songs together. So, you know, I've been doing it 4 or 5 years now, and every project is a learning experience, and you're kind of trying something new as you go all the time, and if you're not doing that, then you probably get bored of it.
How does it feel to you when you're producing your own music as compared to producing other people's? Do you find it easier doing other people's?
Yeah, I definitely find it easier doing other people's because, you know, the songs are kind of new in your head, and the fresher songs are in your head, the quicker the ideas come. Whereas if you've been there for the whole, you know, writing part of making a song, you've heard the song maybe 100 times, or you've tried a million different things to the chorus, and sometimes it can be a bit stale. So it's definitely harder producing your own stuff. You know, when bands come to you and say, "Oh, what do you reckon of this?" Like, you might have 10 ideas that just fly out of your head, you know, in the space of 5 minutes. And, yeah, I just find that quite easy and quite satisfying.
Yeah, that's good. And what is your new single at the moment? Is it Lovers Again?
Well, that's the first track off the EP, so I guess that's the one that we want everyone to hear when they put the CD in and push play.
Have you done a video for that yet?
No, we're hoping to have done one by now, but we haven't quite come up with the exact idea that we want. So we'd still like to get it out before December. But we're halfway through kind of finalising the idea, and it's been hard to sort of get the idea across to a couple of different directors of what we actually want for it. And of course, when you haven't got a massive budget for making a video, you often need to give in to the director's ideas as well. So just finding that middle ground can be hard sometimes.
And you've received some airplay on Triple J already with that, haven't you?
I think so. I kind of shut off to the radio and media side of things for this one. We've been a little bit too busy. We had our launch last week, so I haven't been keeping up to date with anything, but I think after the long weekends over this week, I'll start seeing who's been covering it, and if they haven't, then I guess I'll find out why they haven't.
Musically, you seem to be extremely multi-talented. And you mentioned that you like to play sport, but is there any other hidden talents you've got, any other hobbies you do away from those two things?
There probably isn't, like those two things seem to take up pretty much all of my time, and just sitting here thinking about what else I do with my time is the only other thing I actually do with my time is spend time with my family. And I've got quite an elderly family. I've got some my grandfather's brothers and stuff that I take care of. One's 100 and one's 90 years old, so it's good spending time with them and hearing their stories. It's kind of quite inspirational, and it puts a little bit of perspective into your life, and it often gives you something to write about. But I guess between music and sport and the family, there isn't really time for much else. Is
there music in that older generation of your family?
Yeah. Well, the most talented, I think, or the most successful as well, was my mum's father. He was a great violinist. He hasn't played for the last 10 or 15 years now, but he went overseas, and I think in the 60s ended up becoming the leader of the Royal Philharmonic and London Symphony, and sort of major orchestras overseas, not just in the UK but around the world, in Japan and South Africa as well. So he's played for the royal family and just done amazing things. He's also played on Star Wars and James Bond, and has played with the Beatles and a lot of people that I wish I could have collaborated with. But he doesn't really like pop music, so he doesn't talk about collaborations with Rod Stewart or Paul McCartney much, but he's certainly very proud of what he did in the classical scene over a good sort of 40 years.
And with all that knowledge and experience in your family, what's the best advice you've been given about the industry?
I think listening to what everyone says is a massive part of it, but whether you like it or not, you can't take it to heart. But I think, whether you agree with what someone's telling you about the direction you should go, I think everyone's got a good valid point, and you can learn something from it, no matter what they say. And always try to keep a level head and not try to get too self-centred. And I think that's kind of what's been passed on to me over the period since I've started playing music.
That sounds like good advice. And the Demon Parade can be found on Facebook at The Demon Parade.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you've got links to your other websites, which, like, your main website is thedemonparade.com.
Yep.
And your YouTube channel is just Demon Parade. There's no the.
That's correct.
And you're on Triple J Unearthed.
That's correct too.
So, and people can go and review you and request you there?
Yeah, only if it's nice reviews.
Okay, we'll make sure. Thank you very much for talking to me. Good luck with the shows you've got coming up and the new EP.
Great, cool. Thanks so much.
And I hope to talk to you again one day in the future.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.